Without making a single cold call, Kevin Cabe has sold 11 web design clients in a little over 6 months. He doesn't have any sales background. He has no experience working for an agency. He's just a guy who stumbled into something and decided to run with it. What's funny about Kevin is that he never set out to be in web design at all. He started in ministry and then launched a travel agency and then started a cleaning company. And it was while trying to build a great website for that cleaning business that everything changed. He found SiteSwan, built the site himself for his cleaning company, and realized, holy cow, I could do this for other people. Next thing you know, he's now managing 11 web design clients, bringing in recurring revenue every single month, and is steadily working toward replacing his part-time income. But not to build some massive agency with a 7-figure exit. He wants to be home with his wife and his 2 young daughters, both adopted through foster care. He wants to be more present for the ordinary moments that end up being the ones that really matter as a father. So this is not a masterclass in cold calling or building complicated funnels. You're going to hear a great story about consistency from a man with a clear sense of what he's working toward and a genuine interest in helping other businesses who he works with. Here he is, Kevin Cabe. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kevin. I'm very excited to get into this.
Thank you so much for having me, Justin. Excited to be here.
So I need to know something. Before you discovered SiteSwan, what kind of work were you doing? What experiences shaped the way you approach people and business today? I want to hear a little about your background.
My wife and I were living in New York City and actually had answered a call to ministry to go and serve in New York City and was working with local churches. At the same time, the Baptist Association up there called me and asked me to come on staff as their partnership coordinator. And, I tell people with that position, you've heard the saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, right? And so my job for the association was to recruit churches to come to New York City. And it was really through that role that my network just began to expand tremendously because churches from across the country were calling me. And out of that, we didn't make a New York City salary, right? And so we were looking for some creative ways to make income. And I met a pastor in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is interesting because that's where I am today. But he had mentioned that he was a travel agent. He sold travel on the side. And I was really intrigued by the travel industry. And so I launched a travel agency in New York City. And again, the network expanded. Initially, it was bringing people to New York City. But then from there, it fanned out because people go to New York. Churches tend to go to New York City for like 2 to 3 years, and then they look to move somewhere else. And so I was able to use my travel position to be able to help get them from point A to point B in other parts all around the world.
What is it about ministry and running a church where pastors have this inclination to do something else on the side? Do you see that a lot?
Yeah, we see that all the time. I think smaller churches, you're going to find pastors that are called bivocational or co-vocational. These are guys that have to supplement because the church just can't afford that, to pay them financially. And so absolutely. And I think that number is going to continue to rise as congregations get older. If new folks aren't coming in, then they're going to have to look for other ways to be able to supplement their income.
Right. And doing something that aligns with their morals and ethics and the time commitment that they're able to make is important. And travel felt right to you, especially because you could actually perhaps even help people in their travels to come and work with you, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was the one that when churches would call and say, hey, we want to come to New York, but we don't know how to do that. We don't know where to start. And that's when I went to work. And so they're coming to experience the city. We're going to eat the food and we're going to take the subway together. We're going to smell the smells as good or bad as they are in New York. But I'm going to introduce them to people. And so through that, I would say that position gave me instant credibility. And I think because I was in that role, it automatically gave a level of trust. I didn't have to earn it, right? Which was amazing and has paid dividends. That's how that network grew. I was in that role for 10 years, being able to do that position. Those people, they weren't just clients because I'm a relational guy. They became friends, and I would continue to cultivate those relationships. I would sit at home if I was bored one night and I'd just pull my cell phone out, be like, I hadn't heard from this guy in a while. I would just shoot him a text. Hey man, thinking about you. How are you doing? And that's just how I kind of kept the dialogue going and still do that even today.
You're constantly connecting people. You're running a travel business. How do you make time for family?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my wife and I, when we moved to New York, we were 9 months into our marriage. So it was us doing ministry together. Along the way, we became foster parents. We had difficulties in conceiving. And so my wife came to me one day and said, hey, I'm considering foster care. I told my wife, I said, if we're going to do foster care, you're just going to have to tell me where to be and when to be there. And I'll never forget sitting in my office at 72nd Street and Broadway and getting the text that said, I need you to be on Livingston Street in Brooklyn on this date and this time. And so that started our foster care journey. And we were privileged. The Lord had his hand on us because we were able to adopt our first placement. And it was actually 2 girls. We got the first child at 5 days old. They called us a week later and said, oh, by the way, she has a sister. And we're like, of course she does. So our world got turned upside down really fast with having 2 under 2 quickly. And off we went. But we were able to adopt our kids in 2019. And today they're thriving. They're 9 and 10. Obviously, with the travel business, I'm on the road. I try not to be gone longer than 2 nights, maybe 3 nights at the most. The hardest thing is to hear your child go, do you have to go again, Dad? So that's tough. Exactly. It's a balance.
So help me out with this now. You're doing these 2 things.
Yeah.
You've got 2 children. And when did it occur to you that it would be a good idea to start yet another business?
Yeah, well, so travel business was going really well in 2019. Enough so, when we moved to New York, my in-laws retired down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And so as we were up there living life, serving, we were able to adopt our kids. And I had sold enough travel to be able to actually sell travel full time. And then that little virus hit the world, 2020, and turned us upside down. I lost 6 figures overnight with the travel business. And so it was during that season that we decided to make the move to be near family. And so we made that transition. And again, I'm a guy that doesn't like to sit still. I like to look for multiple things. And all of my adult life, I've worked multiple jobs. And so for us, I came to this realization, the last 3 years in travel have been very successful. And it allowed us the opportunity to be able to really maybe look at diversifying some things. And so my wife does not like travel. She's a homebody. She's like, I want to stay home. You go do your thing. I just had this realization that, if something were to happen to me, she's not going to continue travel. She doesn't have a desire to. We're homeschooling our kids. I'm like, life for you is going to get very hard. And so what are some things that interest you or some things that you would like to do in the event that travel is not there? And so that began another journey of looking at franchises and looking at other opportunities for us to play around with. So a lot of that happened last summer, particularly.
How did you start your franchise search?
A lot of it was online. I think I hooked up with a franchise broker that was presenting ideas to me, and I would go on different websites like Biz Buy Sell and was presented with some good options. They were also very expensive. A lot of those franchises were very expensive, and everything that interested me, like I would go to my wife. So there were probably like 4 or 5 things that I saw that I was like, hey, could you see yourself doing this? And we could do this together. And every time, no, until we come across this idea of starting a remote cleaning business. I presented the idea, and the whole thing behind that was we would outsource all of the cleans. We would basically be the middleman in the process. We would market it, we would schedule it, and outsource all of that. And she was very interested in that. And so we started off down that journey, and we got legal. We got our EIN number. We got opened a bank account. And then we came to this part where we're like, well, we need a website. So what are we going to do with that? That became our next challenge, was finding a website.
So you're like, all right, I'm inspired by what I saw on franchise sites to start this cleaning business, but I need a website. So what'd you do then?
So then I went to Facebook, and I just started looking around, started asking people, where do you get your website? People were offering me to do my website. And so it was late on a Friday night. I'm at my wit's end. and I come across SiteSwan. I'd seen SiteSwan because it shows up constantly and these franchise opportunities, and the price was always right. And I thought, well, wait a minute, for $200 a month, I could pay them. They'll have my website, and there it is. And so I told my wife, hey, I'm putting this on our credit card. Here we go. And jumped into SiteSwan, found an amazing template for the cleaning company, and built a website incredibly fast. And then it hit me, I could do this for other people. I actually enjoyed making that website and doing the tweaks. And then the thought of, hey, I could actually do this for somebody else and it be helpful to them. And so then off we went.
That's so awesome. And whether or not you had seen SiteSwan when you were doing your franchise search, but we do advertise in the franchise world quite a bit because people will look at the franchises and say, oh, cow, that's expensive to get started with a business. And then they see what we're offering, like, oh, it's not a franchise, but I get a lot of the benefits that I would get if I was utilizing someone else's name, the support, the training, the advice. And those are the types of things that attract people to us. But that's not what attracted you. It was actually much later when you're like, I need to figure something out. And then you thought back to seeing us. That's pretty interesting. And that makes sense because you're saying, well, if it was this easy for me to do for myself and it was enjoyable, why can't I do this for someone else?
That's right.
And you think about I would imagine a lot of cleaning companies have started that way. If you think about it, right? You're cleaning your own home. You're like, I enjoy this. I like this. I could clean for somebody else. Restaurants start that way. I enjoy cooking. I'm good at cooking. Let me cook for somebody else.
Right.
So that's the way a lot of businesses actually do end up starting. And it's interesting that it went from, one business you were starting to another business you were starting. So as I understand it, you're now pivoting from starting a cleaning business to, us entrepreneurs, we have shiny object syndrome where, something new and shiny comes like, yes, that. But in your case, it felt very practical, I'm going to assume, because not only were you able to give this a test drive, so to speak, and see for yourself exactly how easy it was, but you also probably said to yourself, well, man, a lot fewer parts running a web design business than running a cleaning business. So did you ever launch the cleaning business?
No, I did not actually launch the cleaning business. We put that down because that would have been way too much in this season of life. And I even told my wife, I said, hey, listen, it's there if we want to pull it out one day. But right now I'm enjoying doing websites. I do see a day when she's going to come on board and help me do some things. But right now I'm primarily doing it and have really enjoyed the process so far.
Was there anything else about that pivot that made it attractive to you? Like going from something you guys were both sold on, because that must have also been a little bit tricky because you're like, honey, we're doing this cleaning thing. Oh, by the way, we're not.
Yeah.
So now you kind of had to pull that out a little bit, but I'm sure you had your reasons. Like, how were you able to present this as a logical replacement for cleaning?
Well, I think the fact that in a lot of ways they're similar in what we were going to be doing, right? With the cleaning business, we were on Facebook. We would have been on, Google business profile. We would have been doing some of those things. And so the fact that we weren't going out, we were going to be able to do this remote, for her, she was fine with that. The other part that I think really intrigued me was honestly just the income potential that is here. You can generate income in really multiple streams. But, for me, what spoke to me the most was really the passive income that could be generated in this. And I don't get passive income in travel. And so that was very enticing to me. And honestly, sometimes I pinch myself, like when we're driving down the road or tomorrow we're going to hop in the car and we're going to go to the mountains of East Tennessee and money's going to hit the bank. And man, that's a blessing to be able to do that. You kind of do the hard work once and then it sticks with you. And I think that is a game changer. So
recurring revenue is the secret to happily running a business because you don't have to constantly worry about where the income's going to come from next month. You have people on the books who are going to be paying. And that's a very reassuring mindset to have rather than, shoot, I really got to make a sale. I got to make a sale soon because I know I have invoices and things to pay and stuff like that. I think it's easy to overlook and easy to discount the importance of that, but until you actually see it coming into your own bank account, you don't really understand. And then
That's
once
right.
you do, it's like, huh, this feels good.
Yep.
So I'm also going to assume that when you were starting this cleaning business, you were pretty confident that you'd be able to utilize some of the people skills that you have and connections you've made to be able to win over some clients. Is it safe to say that your mindset was the same when getting into web design as well? Like, what was your process like for finding your first few clients?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the genius tools that you guys have created is the prospecting tool, because it allows me to go and look for leads. But before I got to that, I started looking through your content a lot more. I dove into your YouTube. I've probably seen every YouTube video you guys have ever done, just because I got so excited about it. And then I thought, okay, I keep seeing this thing about the 14-day launch plan. And so I pulled that out and sat down and went through that. And that's where the clients started coming. I used that script that you have for putting it on Facebook. And that's where the first clients started coming. Pretty exciting to get that. It was actually a referral. A friend of mine who worked for a counseling agency gave it to her boss, and they needed a website, and what they had wasn't working for them anymore. And so that was the first one that we jumped into, and it just continues to grow. I was able to leverage a website from LinkedIn, and it was a personal contact. Somebody that I'd worked with 15, 20 years ago was starting a business and was like, hey, I need a website. And I'm like, let's do this. And so it's been fun so far.
That is so cool. A lot of people think that they have to sell to their friends and family and their network, and that's not at all what it is. It's actually just asking your friends and family for a recommendation or a referral to someone else who might be in the need of a new website. So it makes it a lot easier for people to reach out, because you're not reaching out to the people you're going to be selling to. You're simply asking for something anyone can give you, which is a connection. So you posted something on social media. Someone you know pointed or connected you to someone else that they know. Next thing you know, you've got your first website client. Is that right?
That's right.
Now, have you gotten any other clients from that type of posting and recommendation situation?
Yeah. So not only posting on my personal page, I jumped into Facebook groups. The community that I live in, I put the same script right in there and put it out there. The next website that I got was from a painter. He had a website that was several years old. And so we built him a website. And then in the same community, another person reached out and was looking to start an event planning kind of business, but she niched down to like the wedding industry. And so this one was a fun one for me, because we got to sit down face to face, and she laid out everything that she was trying to do. And again, she knew nothing about the tech. She just knew she needed a website. She had no logo. And so I was able to create a logo for her. And we just talked a lot of business over the table, being able to share. And that's what I stress to my clients too, is, there comes a point where your spouse, your significant other, whoever is going to get tired of hearing about your business. And so let me be a sounding board for you. And that, I think that's paid dividends too. But being able to help that lady in my community was an exciting thing. I got my first Google lead, which was another exciting thing, because I'm like, hey, this SEO thing really does work. And when I asked the lady, she filled out my form on the website. I said, how did you find me? She said, I just Googled you. And so we were able to create a website for her that she loves. She's leaned on me for a ton of things. I've helped her with Google Business Profile. She did not have a Facebook presence at all. She does now. In fact, she called me last week to just check on me, which I'm like, that never happens. She's calling to see how I'm doing. It should be the other way around, but and so it's been fun. You're meeting different people from different stages of life. It's fun. It really is fun.
Now, you've got over 10 clients to date who are paying you every single month for their website, right?
Right.
How much time would you say that you are investing into your web design business on, let's say, a weekly basis?
I probably will spend about 2 days. I tend to block off Fridays because I really enjoy the coachings that happen on Friday.
Nice. So how much of the time do you spend cold calling?
I don't do any cold calling. I've attempted texting some people. For instance, like we just got a dog and we take him to the groomer, and I noticed the groomer's website is terrible. So we've texted a few things, but I've also used the prospecting tool, and we'll either text those folks or I will send emails there as well.
A lot of people think that you have to cold call in order to build up a substantial client base in web design and build up that recurring revenue stream. But you're a testament to the fact that you truly don't. If you're willing to reach out to your network, if you're willing to ask for the referrals and the recommendations from the people you know, you can build a really solid business without ever picking up the phone and talking to a stranger. Now, could you have perhaps doubled the number of clients you have at this point in time? If you were, maybe. But the fact is that you didn't have to do what you didn't want to do. And you're still able to achieve pretty remarkable results, in my opinion, over a very short period of time. And what I also like about getting clients from a referral or recommendation basis is that they tend to be extra sticky. Web design in general has phenomenal retention. You get a client, so long as they like you and they like their site and it's getting results and everything works, you'll have them for a very long time. But when it comes from a personal recommendation to someone, that it kind of like multiplies that, and you have a really solid relationship where, like you said, they're checking on you even before you get a chance to check on them.
Right.
And that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So now that you're in the web design business, you've got these clients paying you on a monthly basis. How different does your income stability look now compared to before? And what does the outlook look like?
Yeah, I think it's given us another stream in this moment, which, is exciting. So I work 3 jobs, actually. So I run a travel company and I'm doing ministry through a local nonprofit. And again, I love that. That's kind of my heart. But I do see a day when I'm going to put that down. My goal is to use the web design to be able to replace that income. And I think it's very realistic. It's very doable. I've heard people in this line of work say they want to make 100,000, 200,000. And again, that's very doable. But I want to start with that small goal and continue to grow it. Again, the recurring revenue part of it is just incredible. And so that's my goal. And my family loves it. The family is on board.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, beyond websites,
yeah,
there are other opportunities you're starting to see that you can, turn these website clients into clients who will be working with you in other ways?
Yeah, I mean, from the marketing standpoint, absolutely. So there's Facebook, there's social media opportunities to be a social media manager for someone. That's something that we advertise, helping folks with their Google business profile. There's even a consulting aspect to it that I think is missing for new business owners. There's a lot of things that they don't know. So being able to leverage some of those things has been incredible. And again, as we get to know people, I mean, this stuff crosses over, right? Maybe they become a travel client, maybe they don't. Maybe I become a client of theirs. So, being able to try to leverage those relationships that are mutually beneficial.
We all come with a certain level of experience. And even just having started a business, you're now in the same level that they are. You're pitching a small business owner. You're also a small business owner. You're equivalent.
And I think you can't underestimate the value of just being hyper local. And for us, we've joined local chamber of commerces, which has introduced us to even more people. And I think being in the community, being active, not necessarily just looking, hey, what can you do for me, but how can I serve you? I'm a highly relational guy because nobody likes to be sold to. Nobody enjoys that. I'd rather get to know you as a person and what makes you tick. Yeah, I do this. And at some point you may want to travel. You may need a website or social media. That comes. But I think people care about who you are as a person.
I totally agree. They buy from people. They don't buy from businesses.
Right.
If someone was thinking about starting with SiteSwan, but wasn't sure whether they could really make it work, maybe they have a lot of other things going on. Maybe they had just recently started another franchise, another business. Yeah. Maybe they have a very busy personal life. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell them this is a great opportunity for anybody. I think if if you can work a phone, if you can work an iPad, if you can work Facebook, you can build websites. It's very simple. The technology is easy. There's plenty of resources. SiteSwan gives a ton of help. There's accountability there. There's one-on-one coaching. I would encourage anybody that's looking for the opportunity to do something. This is a great platform. You make of it what you will. So if you want to go out and, sell a ton of websites, awesome. But you can also very much do this part-time, like I'm doing. No matter who you are, you're a stay-at-home mom needing to make extra money. Great opportunity. You're in retirement and wondering, what am I going to do next? How can I keep busy for a moment? Again, great opportunity to get involved. So I would encourage you to strongly do it.
And I think one of the things you pointed out is that if you really wanted to, right, and you admitted it before, you could have doubled down on all of your outreach, and you could have easily doubled or tripled where you are now. But you're doing what works for you in your situation at the speed you want to go. And there's nothing wrong with that. At the same time, we do want to see everyone make the most of what their own personal potential is, given what they are willing to put into their own business. If you can go back and tell yourself one thing when you first started, what would it be?
Man, you should have got in sooner. I mean, again, the platform is easy. The opportunity is there. It, to me, is there on a platter. And if you want to earn income, do it. That's what I would say.
When you look ahead a few years,
yeah,
what do you hope this business will make possible for you and your family?
Yeah. Well, I'd love to work from home. I'd love to be able to be there for my family even more. I would love to leave something for them, to carry on if in the event that I'm not there. I'm able to do ministry on my terms is another thing that I think is important to me. It provides a cost of living, but I would rather make a difference in someone's life. If I help them, people will help me along the way. My heartbeat is to serve others, and this is a platform to do it. And I think the Lord will take care of me along the way too.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. I think that one of the most rewarding things about running a business is when people actually say thank you and they mean it after they pay you.
Yep.
They're like, here's my money. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what normally happens when you're running a business.
Yeah.
People have been burned before with web design. They have been overcharged. They have been left behind.
Yep.
They have been forgotten about. Well, I've heard the horror stories, and I'm sure you have too. And when someone finds a reputable individual who's also a business owner, who also cares, who also wants what's best for them, they will thank you from the bottom of their hearts for doing business with you, because they get access to something they otherwise would have never had the ability to get. And I think deep inside, we all know we have integrity that other people who are just running a business to run a business don't have. And when you put that on display by being yourself, you become like this magnet for small business customers to come to you to have you help them. And there's a lot that marketing can do to bring in new customers, but also being a great person and doing great work is a way to bring in a lot of customers also, extremely organically.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, one of the greatest text messages I've gotten recently, because I just did the 3-month follow-up with some of those customers. It wasn't it wasn't the excitement of here's my credit card, let's move forward. It was the text that they gave me was, I've had more business in the last 90 days because of you. And man, that was awesome. I reached out to the counseling folks. I reached out to a painter and I said, how's your business? He said, I'm covered up. And I'm like, that's gold.
Wow. Those are testimonials.
Yeah.
Those are wicked testimonials. That is awesome. That is awesome. Get used to it. You keep doing good work.
Yeah.
You're going to hear a lot more of that. Kevin, if someone wanted to follow your journey, which I wouldn't blame them. You're an interesting guy with interesting history, and I think an even more interesting future ahead of you. how would they go about following you?
Sure. You can find us on the internet. BlueOceanDesignSC.com is our website. We're also on Facebook, Blue Ocean Design, and would love to connect. Again, love to share advice, some tips, things that I've learned along the way, and would also love to learn from you as well.
That's awesome. Kevin, I think you are a standout in what you have been able to build with zero actual experience, with nothing more than a commitment to learning and improving your future and your family situation. I can't thank you enough for taking this time to speak with me. And of course, allow everyone else in the SiteSwan realm to hear your story. I know that you are going to reach the goal that you're shooting for, and you're going to replace the income from the position you currently have faster than I think even you believe you'll be able to. And when you do, you'll have a lot of people cheering and celebrating you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Kevin, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Now, go sell some more websites.
Let's go.
I can't help it. Kevin's got all this cool stuff going on that I just want to learn more about.